is, that's up in the air. That's what we're working to solve.
You won't believe, but we have one alien. It's kind of furry and it's climbing on top of the computer. And so, so it's shaking everything. Basically, that's a beautiful explanation. Mr. Paul or Mr. Donny, do you have a question for our guest? I did see a couple coming in the chat, Paul and Donny, so I'll leave the floor to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, let me hit the chat here. World Bigfoot Central 3933. He's asking about a missing lady, was a rocket scientist working with new tech, and she disappeared while hiking with friends.
Oh, okay. I know what that case was. Yeah, that's almost like one of those missing 411 cases, because she was like, I think, 30 feet, 30 yards, not that far behind the group of people that she was hiking with. They turned around, she like waved at him, and then when they turned around again, less than a few minutes later, she was gone. And they went back and searched for her, and they couldn't find her. There's been searches of the area for her. She's just disappeared. And, you know, how I realize that in a lot of these cases that you're in a wilderness area, and if you're by yourself, it's very easy to get off a trail, you know, fall into a hole someplace, or you know, fall off a cliff and disappear. But when you're that close with people, I find it just, it's really hard to believe that somebody can just vanish like that. It is almost like, and I can see why people would think, you know, like, oh, you know, she got lifted up in the air by a, you know, like by a UFO or something. It reminds me of a story that I heard of, and it was like, you know, a third person story. That a woman was out hiking with friends, and again, a situation where you're out hiking in the woods, and she was somewhat behind them, not that far, when all of a sudden she was knocked unconscious. Now, fortunately, her friends heard something and turned around and walked back, and it was just like right around a bend, just barely around this bend where she couldn't be seen. But they found her lying on the path. Nobody else was around, but there was a rock nearby where it was obvious that she had been struck by this rock. Now, they don't know if somebody had actually held the rock in their hand and stuck up behind her, hit her, or threw it. But if they hadn't turned around and immediately gone back, what would have happened to her? Would she have disappeared like that scientist? And everybody's just like shrugging their shoulders, wondering what happened to her. You know, now a lot of people are, since a lot of these take place in wilderness areas, are like, well, maybe it's Bigfoot. You know, maybe Bigfoot is looking for lunch, and that's what happens to these people. You know, I know a lot of people like to think of Bigfoot as like Harry and the Hendersons type of thing. But, you know, if we're actually talking about a, you know, 9-foot hominid, more than likely it's not just a friendly vegetarian. It's probably like a bear. It's like an omnivore and will eat whatever it comes across. And if it comes across the person that is straggling from the herd, so to speak, I don't think it's, you know, it's unlikely. I don't think it's unlikely that it would take advantage of that opportunity. So, you know, there are a lot of mysterious missing cases all around, not just the United States, but all around the world, where very similar to, you know, the case that started this conversation, where somebody just disappears almost in the blink of an eye and is never found again. So it's definitely bizarre.
Donny, did you pick any of the questions? Because I did see a couple.
Someone asked what your thoughts were on the Men in Black.
Oh, that's a great one. You know, we put out another book, and Paul contributed. I think you contributed to the Mimics the Others Among Us, didn't you, Paul?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah. We wrote a book, we put out a book called Mimics the Others Among Us, and this book deals with encounters with what appears to be non-human intelligence. There you go. The mimics that we talk about in the book appear to be human. There may be some differences. A lot of times people who have these encounters are left afterwards with the conviction that this encounter did involve them talking to a human being. You know, because there are people out there that they dress the way that they want to, they look the way that they want to, but you can tell that they're people. With these encounters with the mimics, including the Men in Black, we list the Men in Black as mimics.